my channel. If this is your first time checking out my channel, please do consider subscribing, because on this channel I'll teach you how to do simple DIY fashion right there in the comfort of your homes, and you do not want to miss out on any of it. Today I'm going to show you how to make a Bustier strapless bodice top. It's a dress that has a circular skirt part to it, but the circular part has some pleats. So I'm going to show you how you could get that style. Now we're going to start with the top of this dress. So I'm making this not for myself but for a client, and I'll be using this fabric here. This is just a piece of it to make it. So this is my client's basic bodice pattern without the darts. So I haven't imputed the darts in it as yet, except for the one at the back. Now there's some alterations, there's some things that you will need in order to get the correct fitting of this dress. So I'm now going to impute the darts, but before I go, for the purpose of the beginners and they don't understand what I'm doing, my client is very busty. So her front measurement, so this is the front of her basic bodice and this is the back of her basic bodice. The front is actually have a different measurement. Her front is, I believe, from the shoulder it's 18.5, and her back is 16.5. Now in order to make this dress so that it fits properly, I'm going to use the bust dart at the side and then manipulate that bust dart in order to get the other dart. So the first thing I did, from this line to here is our chest line. From this point, so these are our vertical measurements. This is our bust point line, this is our under bust line, and this is our waist at the front. Similarly at the back, this is our chest line and this is our waistline. So what I did, I went ahead and I put in her actual measurement. So her bust is 42 inches. So I added half an inch for ease, so that's 11 inches plus 1 inch for seam allowance. Our waist is 37 inches, which is quarter fit is 9.25, which is right here. And then I added 2 more inches for the darts that I'm gonna put, and then 1 inch for side seam allowance, so that makes it 12.25. And at the back I put 9.25 plus this 1 inch dart, but this will change because I'm going to manipulate the back of it. So let's get started with the dart intake. So the first thing I want you to do is at the shoulder, you're going to find the midpoint of the shoulder. Hers is right here. You're going to find the midpoint of her shoulder, and this is our bust point. Remember, you're going to put our nipple, the nipple to nipple measurement. Hers is 4.5, and to get your nipple to nipple measurement, you could just divide your bust by 4 and subtract 1.5 from that. So hers is 4.5, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to connect this line right here to the bust point line that's right here. So we're working on the front first. So that's what you're going to have now. So what you're going to do is that you're going to impute a dart. So I'm using 1 inch on both sides. Remember, I put 2 inches dart allowance, so I have to take 1 inch on both sides of our bust point to bust point. And then at this point, I'm going to take 1/4 inch more, which is 1 1/4 on both sides. Okay? And what you're going to do, you're just going to connect this point, and then you're going to connect this point. So this is a bustier now. And then at her bust point, because you don't want it peeking on her bust, the dart, you're gonna come down 1 inch. You're also gonna go up 1 inch from this point, and then you're going to connect these here. Now, what I want you to do, you do not want your darts to be straight. You don't want this to be straight. So what you're going to do, you're going to take your French curve. You take your French curve. If you have an armhole curve, that would be lovely. And you're going to blend up. Let me use a different, a smaller marker, smaller point. You're going to blend up these points right here. Blend it so that it is not very sharp like this. Okay? And you're also gonna blend this part also. Okay, so you're gonna have something that looks like this. Okay? Also, at this point, the tip here, you're going to also blend that point also. You're gonna blend it up. Use the curved part. And you're gonna blend it like this. Do it also on this point. So all of this, you're actually blending it up because you don't want that area to be too sharp. Now, what I want you to do, you're going to determine where. So this point, all of this, we're going to cut it off. All of this is gonna come off, except these two little parts right here. You're not touching those. Okay? Alright, so that's gonna take care of the dart right here. Now, I want you to determine, you're going to determine how deep you want the neckline of this dress. If you notice the dress, it doesn't have a sweetheart neck. It's just maybe straight. So I'm going to, you could use your bust span measurement for this. What's your bust span? It's just the distance from the bust point to the underbust. So in this case, it's 3. And if I measure here, I'll get 3. But this is on the chest line, and I don't want it to be so low. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go up about 1 inch. Okay? And I'm gonna make a dotted line right here, just as a guide. Right? So that's my guide. That is where I want the neckline to stop. Okay, if you want it higher, you could always go higher. But what I want you to do is that for a bustier, a strapless bodice, if you should just go ahead and cut this out, you're going to find that it's gonna fall off your it's gonna be too big at this point. So you have to do some contouring. You have to do some contouring at this part, okay? Now, for the contouring, I'm just gonna take 3/4 of an inch on both sides. So I'm gonna take 3/4 of an inch here and 3/4 of an inch right there. Later. So you're gonna take 3/4 of an inch here and 3/4 of an inch there, and then you're going to blend it up to this point right there. So you're going to take your curved ruler and you're going to blend it up right there. Okay, so this is actually going to go up. So what you're going to do, you're going to draw your style line. If you don't want it, I don't want it to curve too straight, so I'm gonna make it a bit curvy at this point right there. And what you're going to do at this point, you're going to you're going to blend it up. But before you do that, there's something I want to point out on this pattern. Now, if I could go ahead and blend it in the chest line like this, but sometimes when you do that, you will find that your breast will be showing here. So what you could do, you could go up at least 3/4 of an inch here. You're also gonna do that here on the back, so you don't forget, and you're gonna redraw. Okay, so here I went up 3/4 of an inch. Okay, this is optional. If you want it on the chest line, you can just go ahead. And what you're going to do is that, so now this line now becomes your new chest line. I hope you understand what I'm doing. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to redraw. I'm going to redraw this line right there. So this now becomes my new armhole line. So this now becomes my new armhole line, because you don't want it to be too deep down that it exposes your body. So I'm gonna bring that up, and now this is my new line. I hope you understand what I just did. So what you're going to do, you're now going to connect this line in this line right here. If you want to go down, it's this part is totally optional. So I'm just gonna blend this in. You could use the other part, depends on what you want. Okay, so this now becomes that, but we're not yet through, because what we need to do now is that we're going to put our bust dart. So the bust dart is the difference between the front and the back, which I said earlier is 2 inches. So on this line right now, on this line, you're going to put 2 inches, which is here, and you're going to connect it to the bust line like this. Okay, so now this here is your side seam dart. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna cut it out, but here you could, as we said that this has to match with this one, and we said that we went up just the same here. So what we're going to do, we're just going to, from this point, we're just gonna connect it. You could make a curve, it doesn't matter, it depends on you. You could make it straight, or you could make a curve. Okay, maybe I'll just make a curve here. Okay, so we're still going to alter this here, so let me show you how to do that. All right, so let's jump to the back for a little bit. Okay, let's jump to the back for a little bit. This is my zipper allowance, but because I don't want the bulging at the back, I'm gonna go in from the zipper 1 inch, and then I'm gonna connect it back to the chest line. Okay, so now this here becomes my new zipper line, but because we took out 1 inch here, we have to add it back here. So you're gonna go over to this point, and you're going to add back your 1 inch, then you're going to connect it to the chest line like this. So if you should check from this point to this point, you're supposed to get 10.25, which is quarter of the waist, which was 9.25, plus this 1 inch dart, plus this 1 inch for side seam allowance. So now we're good. So all of this here, this is your zipper, this is your dart, which we're gonna cut off. And also I must tell you, You could also tighten the back of this dress. So I'm gonna tighten the back. I'm just gonna bring this up, take off a 1/4 inch on both sides here, right? Because you need it to be very fitted. So what you're going to do now, I'm gonna cut off the back. I'm gonna cut off the back just a bit. Okay. And let me put that aside for a little bit, because we have to do some chewing at this point. So if I should cut this off, if I should close up my dart, okay? Before I do that, all right, let me close up my dart here. And let me cut out my dart at this point. Remember, we're cutting the green area. Oops. Okay. If I should close this up like this, so let me paste it back. So when I cut off this dart, you're going to see that it's not aligning as how it ought to. So what you're going to do, you're just going to straighten the line, okay? All right. Also, at this point, we have to check to see if the darts align with each other. So if I should put it on each other like this, right, like this, and I put it on this one, it should match perfectly. If it does not, then you'll have to redraw the line. Okay, so you see that it doesn't match so evenly. There's a little space, so you have to draw that line back. Okay, all these things, they add up. It's just a little piece. There you go. Okay, so when you're cutting, you know that you cut off like that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cut this. This is what you're going to have. Remember to cut off the front. So remember to cut this on fold. So you're going to cut this on fold, and you're also going to cut this times 2 plus lining. Okay, so let's cut out the back. All right, so this is you're gonna cut this times 2, this times 2. Let's now talk about the lower part of this dress, because now I want to tell you, before I even go any further, that the method that I'm gonna show you, it consumes quite amount of fabric. You don't have to make it this way, but I'm just letting you know that you're gonna need a good amount of fabric in order to do this style. All right, so for the box pleat bottom, the circle dress, what you're going to do, you're going to determine how many pleats you want at the bottom. So in this case, I'm going to take my waist measurement and I'm going to divide it by the amount of pleats. So for instance, I want 8 pleats. I'm going to divide my waist, which is 36 by 8. That's 4.5. That's the width of the pleats that you're going to have. Now, let's talk about the amount of fabric that you're going to need. Now, you're going to multiply your waist by 3, which is 36 times 3 is 108. So the back, you're going to now divide the back from the front. So you're going to need that, divide that 108 by 2, and you're going to get 54 inches. Now, to get the radius, you're going to take that 54 and you're going to divide it by 6.28, and that's going to give me 8.6 for the front, one for the front and one for the back. Now, but because I want a side seam in mine, because I want to join the front and the back, I'm going to add an extra 1 inch to that. So it's going to make it 55 divided by 6.28, which is 8.75. Now, so for the total length now, say for instance, I want a dress length of 25. I want a dress length of 25 inches. It means then that I'm going to add the 8.75 to the 25 inches. It's going to give me 33.75. Now, this 33.75 will be folded. Now, look at how you're going to fold now. This is quite a lot of fabric and I don't have this much. So for instance, this is going to be, I'm going to fold my fabric like this in 2, but then I will have to fold again, right? And then what you're going to do is that you're going to take your radius, which is 8.5. So for instance, this is going to be my 8.75. This is now is going to be the total length of the dress. Okay, so this is 9 centimeters. So let me just make it. This is just for the front. I'm just telling you, this is for the front. For both of them, you have to cut on by 4, fold it in 4. Then you're going to cut it off. Now remember, I always tell you, you should leave your seam allowance, okay? And you're going to cut this off also, like this. So this here would represent your front alone. So I'm gonna cut it off right there. So this is the front. This would be the front of your dress. But then to pleat it up, you're going to take your 1 inch that you have left. Remember we said that you're gonna take your 1 inch. So I'm gonna take my 1 inch. Then you're gonna go around and take your pleats. So 4.5 inches, 4.5 inches, 4.5 inches, and you're gonna do that. Remember, there's 1 inch also there. 4.5 inches, 4.5 inches, 4.5 inches, 4.5 inches. Then you are going to start pleating, and I suggest you start pleat from the middle. Okay, so you're gonna start pleating. Okay, and you're gonna pleat. And you're gonna pleat, and you're gonna pleat. So when you're done, you're supposed to have, this is just an example, you're supposed to have half of your waist measurement, which is gonna be, in my case, 18 inches plus the 1 inch for seam allowance. Okay, so when you're cutting your back, remember your back is going to have a zipper. All you have to do is fold this in 2. So this would be the front. So for the back, you fold this. You're going to take your back, okay? Remember to leave your seam allowance. Okay, so this is gonna be my 1 inch seam allowance. That would be my 1 inch seam allowance. You're gonna take this. You're gonna put it on it, okay? Like this. And then you're going to cut this out like this. So you're gonna cut it out like this. So you're gonna trace your waist. Remember, it's on hold. And you're gonna cut it out. So that would be for the back. But remember, the back has a zipper. So all of this would be your zipper allowance. So this, you're gonna cut it like this. You don't need this part, remember, just this part. So this here, okay, so this here, my friends, would be your zipper allowance. So you're gonna notch this. So let me fold this in. I'm gonna fold this in for you to understand. So this here and this, if you look at it this way, it's now the same thing, right? So now remember, you're gonna cut this off. You're gonna open this because this is where the zipper will be. So I'm gonna take that off, okay? And then now you're going to start pleating. So this would be for the back, one piece of the back, and you're gonna start, take your 4.5 inches all the way around. Leave your 1 inch because that's already in it. And it should work out the same way. So you're gonna pleat until you reach to this point. I do hope you understand. I don't have enough fabric to do all of this, and that is why I showed you using just a small illustration, but I hope you get the idea of what I did. But if you do not want this to be so elaborate, you can always go ahead and do the circle method, add some seam allowance to it, and then just pleat up the seam allowance that you have added. So for instance, if your waist is 36 inches, you could add 12 inch of seam allowance. That would serve as my pleat, which is gonna be 48 inches. So what you're gonna do, you're just going to divide 48 by 6.28, and then you're going to get your radius, and then it will not consume as much fabric as this one. So if you find this video helpful, do not forget to give me a giant thumbs up. Do not forget to subscribe and turn on the post notification bell so you'll be notified each time I make a video. Until we meet again, I will see you in my next one. Bye.